on. And you can make a case that like them and Falcons probably the top two in terms of how you think this tournament would go. And I think that would be a tremendous game. They still have some work to do though, right? They got to kind of get through Virtus.pro here. Twisted Minds also proving that they will not be an easy out.
No, I mean, that would be a banger matchup. Of course, AlQadsiah and Twisted Minds have gone head-to-head in some pretty explosive series to date. There are still some North American squads lingering amongst our top 8 teams. And of course, what many would consider the final boss, Falcons, are still licking their lips for a chance to get involved. STC Esports Arena, strap yourselves in for our second quarterfinal of the day. AlQadsiah take on Virtus.pro.
We'll have VP. Looks like maybe hovering a sim comp here at the start. We'll see if this is what they actually decide to do. It'll be JWU actually making the change here over to the Pharah. And then over on the other side, it's just going to be Kellex playing the brig. That's a double conk right off the rip. So Kellex on the brig, no speed, obviously. Maybe they didn't want to like use a TP right off the rip, and maybe they were, or maybe they used it off the rip to get towards the bridge. We'll see here the defense matrix. Yeah, Ziyad is pretty far forward.
And this is elementary stuff. Ziyad had the defense matrix, but it's just the spacing is inadequate there, too far ahead. And JWU's threatening more of that environmental kill pressure, but this time AlQadsiah able to get through a TP, and instantly Labda has opened up to the account. He's made his deposits early as Gala taken down, and now he's handled the airborne threat. JWU the Menace is off the map for now.
And this team has been the best sim team that we have seen. It's really been the team that kind of started it, right? When we were doing EMEA in stage 2. Seeing how they play Ziyad, a lot on the D.Va, TP him around the map, and then Checkmate and Lab, they will just cause chaos. So even after that conk and that first point hold, Virtus.pro only gets 18% out over the point.
And that means it's going to be an even game in a couple of moments. JWU now knows just how threatening it is to fly too close to Lapta's position, and Shockwave finds it out himself firsthand. Railgun connection as Lapta has that better positioning, and Virtus.pro opting to take the bridge because they know there's no boot, no conk to deal with. Still line up for him.
So JWU's going to try and find an off angle, right? Put some damage down here and force these players back off the corner, and then allow them to get over the bridge.
JWU's managed to wrap around here. Magnus and Immortality Field being deployed for AlQadsiah. Lapta doesn't want to get too close to the questing fists of the Ramacha, but that's good damage being put down on Vistola. Immortality Field had to be used here by Virtus.pro, and AlQadsiah made use of theirs a few moments beforehand. An amplification matrix could be a problem, but JWU's got into the backside, and there's a barrage. It'll only be a trade. Good reaction there from Labda. Swings around. Railgun connects onto the Pharah, and still AlQadsiah half-point control. They back off, almost anticipating this air matrix. And now we'll have to give Ziyad's mech up at the least, but he's going for a self-destruct. Great disruptor shot from Shockwave, though, means that the pilot cannot get back into the hot seat.
And Kellex uses the rally there towards the end. I was most certainly he was going to save that. A few players down at that moment. So not going to have the rally here. That's a huge opportunity now for VP to get back into this one.
Substantial lead, though, for AlQadsiah, and that's what VP are eyeing up at the moment. Checkmate with a TP over to White Room. Looks like most of AlQadsiah have been able to follow him there before it was destroyed. Now I'll try and canvas the point with some of these turrets. There is a wall available now for Checkmate. Can throw that at midpoint. Usually seem to play around a TP to the backside. Wall comes up, cutting through the point now. Vortex deployed. Immortality Field dealt with by JWU. Shockwave here is just trying to make sure no interlopers would be able to push up into his face. Still point control for VP, but Fixer has fallen. Good disruptor shot there from Labda, and he cleans up Gala. Shockwave just hasn't had a good target to work with here, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's extremely difficult, right? I mean, there's players TPing behind you to the side. The TP comes down, you don't know if anybody's actually going to go through it. It's like they come through it late. It's very difficult for Shockwave to keep track of where all of these players are coming from on AlQadsiah. And then if Shockwave's used his slide, I mean, Ziyad is going to collapse right on top of you.
JWU has probably his final opportunity to make a big impact in this round if Virtus.pro can't flip the point here. He knows he needs to break that line of sight to Lapta as much as humanly possible, but eventually he just has to throw caution to the wind.
And Matrix here with this overclock as well as they try and move through the side room.
There's the Matrix. JWU putting pressure down. Dangerous though as the overclock comes in and forces him to dump altitude quickly. Lapta's on the hunt. Smell of blood in his nostrils. JWU flattened, has to conk himself across and stays alive. Slow on the healing though of Virtus.pro, as Jay was still about half. He needs to go for it anyway. There's an annihilation out in the middle of the field out of Asola's trying to use it to chase down AlQadsiah, but he could be in trouble. He's in danger, brought down by the combined forces of AlQadsiah, and with the rally in play, Alcad can brave the storm. Labda felled, but it's just a footnote, and that's a strong showing on Garden.
And we have seen teams and players struggle to play the diva in some of these comps. It feels like Riyadh is always able to stay alive, to work his way around in different areas of the map. That time it's an annihilation. It's like an ant matrix coming through there from VP. He loses some armor, but then able to kind of get out of the way, work his way back towards the point, secure it for AlQadsiah.
Vistola in this matchup has a lot on his plate, because he has to do everything he can to garner attention, and Riyadh is avoiding him constantly, trying to play around him, trying to use that defense matrix either on Jaywu to limit his impact or go after Shockwave. And Vistola basically has to chase, trying to find a way to put himself in the center of the action.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation to play from. So they're going to get rid of the Pharah here. They're going to play Mei, and then they're also going to play Juno, right? So this is like you're trying to split some players off. You're trying to extend these fights here if you're VP.
I mean, this is a good point for VP. They were hoping for control center with the style that they like to play. Labda just caught on too much Shockwave. Now he can play pretty safely and uncontested on this wide angle, but he knows there's a TP thrown up behind him, so instantly he has to respect that and drops down. AlQadsiah waiting, need to regroup and get Labda back in the game. He is their centerpiece.
Yeah, no reason to push on in here without Labda.
Oh,
now
good.
You're gonna have to wait again as Landon gets picked by Shockwave. I mean, it would be massive if he started to come alive here for VP. Labda's been so good on the Sojourn. It looks like potentially a swap here for Riyadh. So gonna not match the Ram, gonna end up going with the Orisa here. So see if he's able to kind of like land some of these spears, knock players back.
If you'll excuse the pun, Matt, this can snowball a little bit because these Mei walls make it very hard for AlQadsiah to stay grouped or stay in a position where they can safely fall back and get Riyadh topped up. There's another shot comes in. Shockwave yet again has found his opposite number across the map. And once more, we call a cancel.
3 fights in a row, or 3 attempts to get a fight in a row. Just ruined there by Shockwave. 3 railgun shots in a row, take players out, force AlQadsiah back. That's going to give them about 50% here on the point.
That's a nice pick. The Javelin normally sets up those eliminations, but Shockwave looks like he lingered a little bit too close to the front lines. And here it is, Ant Matrix now, Landon. Likely just employed to keep Riyadh standing, but Vistola gets thrown into the blender. Very quickly they reassert themselves and start their own capture progress.
A lot to work with though here for VP. That's an excellent start to the beginning of the round. They get up to about 60%, and then they're going to come back. You can get the Ramatra fighting inside of that orbital ray. Obviously a lot of displacement from Riyadh, but getting the Ramatra inside the orbital ray, using that Nemesis form, cycling into the Annihilation, going to be really difficult to get rid of Vistola.
Shockwave with an overclock, trying to make use of this straight away. Hit it immediately. AlQadsiah fall back around the corner. Vistola bounce forward. He knows he's got some space to occupy here. And Shockwave has done his job. He's given him a way into the point, but now they've got to stick it. Pulsar torpedoes come down here from Gala, trying to keep him standing, and there's a rally in play. Terror Surge thrown out by Riyadh. Everyone able to avoid it for the most part, and he's going a little bit low. Immortality Field to buy time for Landon. AlQadsiah still with 5 to work with, but they need to get some damage down, and that's a good start. Kelex is felled. Vistola now with the Annihilation, able to run rush shot over Riyadh, and Labda knows he needs to fall and stall as long as he can. A respectable 51% here for AlQadsiah, but they need to get control of this game.
Honestly, they did a pretty good job battling through a lot of that, right? I mean, they end up using that orbital ray and then into the Annihilation, like I was talking about, with a Blizzard and Rally, and they extend the fight long enough there, AlQadsiah, where they give themselves a chance to flip it here and make a comeback.
Riyadh doesn't like what he sees. Not a checkmate getting picked off. That's their mobility kit. Annihilated at the start of the fight.
And a lot of early pickoffs from VP. Just kind of ruined AlQadsiah's round.
Yeah, between Jaywu and Shockwave, there's a lot of poke potential in Virtus.pro's composition. Compromising position of his Riyadh to be in, but he knows he has to go for it. Early ice block drawn out of Jaywu here, and there's a rally in play for Kelex. That's the pick on the Mei. Jaywu was isolated as he emerged from that ice block, and Gala's going to likely be forced off that sideline. Landon's got to be careful, caught inside. Vortex thrown down at his feet. There was also a disruptor shot, but he's going to go upstairs, get some pressure down on Gala, finishes off the Juno. And now space is taken by AlQadsiah. They want to ration some of these ultimates for the longer game. but they have a crack at taking the map 2-0.
In that situation, right, Jay was playing a little bit further up. He takes a lick of damage and then ice blocks. And what AlQadsiah decides to do is use the rally to push on up. They get that dash as soon as he comes out of the ice block, not able to use like a wall, kind of push his way back, and it's an easy pickoff.
And that's the volatility of having Sojourn in the game. We're really hard to know if you're going to be able to stick around longer or if you'll be chucked down to low health and have to use a defensive cooldown like that. Shockwave wraps around. Overclock here. Gives him a bit of space. The May wall also lets Virtus.pro get in. Here comes that Terror Surge from Ziyad. Waiting on the Ice Block cooldown, but unfortunately, the duration is just too short of that wind up, but it doesn't seem to matter. Lambda finds himself two. Fixer and Shockwave scrabbling for position, but AlQadsiah have the lead, and they've caught Shockwave in their left room. This orbital ray is pretty underwhelming. The only player that could benefit from it was Fixer, and he instantly is brought to heel. Now it's desperation. Virtus.pro trickle onto the point, but Vistola's forced off. And there you have it. Clean work here on Lingshan Tower. AlQadsiah had to work for it, but they knew it wouldn't be an easy walkover.
And VP, they try to walk up there, right? Amp Matrix from AlQadsiah. They throw the Blizzard in. The Blizzard actually is like more focused for like Ziyad, but then also trying to move players back, because it's a little bit like touching that Amp Matrix, and then Ziyad uses the Terror Surge, grips those players in, so you're still getting some damage down through that Amp Matrix. You result in a kill, and then the players on Virtus.pro, they're quite weak at the time, so they don't have the staying power to stay there and try and finish Ziyad off while he's inside that Blizzard, and really well played there from AlQadsiah.
You can see the May wall and its applications in that round. Very good at catching AlQadsiah out, especially if they're trying to fall back. But when you force that ice block early, your May ends up emerging in a pretty far forward position, especially if VP opts to back away, try and disengage. They have to know at that point they can't really do too much about keeping their May alive. And credit to AlQadsiah, see those opportunities to surge ahead, redraw the battle lines, and cause that May to fall deep within enemy territory.
So for VP, you know you have one Simban, right, throughout this. When do you decide to use it? Probably you're thinking about sooner rather than later, right? You know, you don't have a lot of time here to work with here. If you are Virtus.pro, on the other side of things, though, man, you get rid of the Sim. It's not like that's all Checkmate can play. I mean, Checkmate is like crazy good. I mean,
he'll just play Tracer.
Yeah, he'll play Tracer. Could play Venture, right? A lot of different things you could see potentially from Checkmate.
Do you think the Venture is something we're more likely to see from VP? It's obviously well in the wheelhouse for that team. And the idea of trying to target Shockwave's strengths probably doesn't really hold up, because you've got a player like Lapta who wants to play much the same stuff. Got a substitution occurring on stage. We'll keep you in suspense as we come back from a break. I think you can probably figure it out as a certain Finn is on his feet. See you after this. As is their wont, Virtus.pro have conducted a substitution heading into the second map of this series. It's their map pick. And Icenom has come in at tank this time, fear not, for Vistola.
Yeah, so with Icenom coming in here, obviously going to be a map that's a little bit more centered around like a dive, whether it be like a hazard, something along those lines, potentially even like a Winston, right? We'll see where they decide to go. One of the maps that would kind of stick out to me is playing something like I don't know, maybe like Gibraltar. You'd have to probably burn a ban on something like Diva in that case. We've seen them play Icenom, well, we've seen them play him on Sim on like a map like Circuit, right? Wouldn't exactly be the pick there, right? Especially as he's coming in on tank. So probably something that you can get a little bit more high ground, need a little bit more vertical mobility in the tank role.
Now, obviously, a lot of those dive tanks can struggle a little bit against Freya, but it's not actually a pick that Labda prefers to play.
No.
A lot more of like the more standard hit scan from Labda, so. And that's something that, you know, Shockwave has been known to try and bring out every now and then. Definitely a Freya player, we would consider.
Yes, way more than like Labda, or as we saw in the previous series, like Quartz, right? Quartz doesn't really go to it at all, really. Like Cassidy Sojourn, exclusively for him. Labda, I think I would put in the same type of boat. Doesn't exactly want to go and play that Freya, where Shockwave, I think, can play all three. I think with a map like, let's say, if it is, you know, something with a longer sight lines, Dorado, Gibraltar, or something in that wheelhouse, right? That's in the pool. Probably looking at Gibraltar, where Freya could be pretty impactful there with the longer sight lines.
Saw just there briefly Coach Junkbuck, pretty legendary in terms of Overwatch's history at the helm of AlQadsiah, previously with Falcons and the Houston Outlaws before that. Assistant coach of the San Francisco Shock alongside Krusty at Tour de Force.
Pretty solid resume there.
Absolutely. He was the student to the master that Krusty was. Suffice to say now the student might have surpassed the sensei.
And not many else in Junkbuck's resume in terms of the teams he's coached, the performance he gets out of the players is. I mean, look, this team even back when you think of Champions Clash back in Hangzhou, right? They end up beating VP there, right? But they don't have like Ziyad play there at that moment, right? A little bit of a different look from the team. They also have Kellex not in the lineup there, so. Now with AlQadsiah coming in, making some changes here for stage 2, I mean, they have been on fire.
Yeah, that substitution of Kellex coming into AlQadsiah, you get someone who is a fantastic ult caller, which is an often overlooked skill in Overwatch. Oh, look at this, Gibraltar picked up.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense, though. Gibraltar, Ziyad's not like a Winston player, right? Get rid of the Diva. That would be like one of the tanks you would play for like high ground mobility. You could play Hazard here, I guess, if you are AlQadsiah, and then for AlQadsiah, kind of like what we were just talking about, they get rid of the Freya. It's longer sight lines, take it out of Shockwave's hands, force him to play, Sojourn, Cassidy, something that we would see from Labda.
Plenty of noise for VP in the arena, but the AlQadsiah cheer squad are absolutely electric in there. And I don't want to overlook the possibility of seeing a little bit of Widowmaker at times on this map, especially if AlQadsiah opt to try and go for a slower composition. If they don't end up opting into a high mobility dive tank, like you mentioned, the possibility of Hazard. I won't rule out Winston for Icenom.
I don't think, though, this is a scenario that is like surprising here to AlQadsiah. Like, it also conveniently for Virtus.pro saves the Symmetra ban, right? So you're able to kind of push that down the pike a little bit.
If you're AlQadsiah, wouldn't you have expected VP to try and take you to Circuit?
Why?
Because that's where VP takes everybody.
Yeah, but if you go, like, what are you going to do? Go Circuit and get rid of, like, Diva, like, and then they're going to get rid of the Freya, and then what? You're going to, like, a Circuit's like a 6 sim map, right? Yeah, like, we've seen them take teams to Circuit and have to put Icenom in for JWU. I don't think that's something they would, like, want to do against a team who is great at sim as well.
Yeah, I guess what I'm almost getting at here is that Virtus.pro don't feel, and they have taken many teams to Circuit Royal, right, for that second map of the series. Like, that is very common. So there's something about AlQadsiah, though, that makes them much less comfortable about doing that. VP have picked that map into sim teams as well. They look very good, of course, with that sort of ERE Baptiste-based backline, but something here is, well, made Smash want to go to the far less picked Gibraltar instead.
We have seen AlQadsiah just ruin teams on circuit. Like, they're TPing Riyadh on the deep on that map, right? All over, like taking off angles, making it super difficult for teams. I don't think that's something they wanted to opt into, especially if you're like looking at a scenario where Icenom has to play Sim. I mean, or you're going to say, all right, do we believe that playing Mei against AlQadsiah without like Mei Sojourn would be good enough to beat AlQadsiah? And I don't believe you could do that. I think it would be really difficult.
That's the kind of calculus that our coaches are dealing with here, map after map, and that is why we've ended up heading to Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Outside of TM, they just vibe it. They don't have, the Psycho's back there. Just
I mean, I have witnessed Psycho like in a coaching capacity, I guess, like he was sort of talking to the players after a scrimmage. He's a very stern taskmaster.
Yeah.
He does not joke around. He's that guy that will give you the just like a stony-faced response if you try and goof off.
I mean, look, players know the game pretty well. Would not oppose. I think with them, it's just like substitutions that become a little odd, right? But in terms of players kind of taking control of their roster, their destiny in terms of strategy, it's not a bad idea.
Here we go, your first looks at Watchpoint Gibraltar, folks. Definitely waiting with bated breaths to see what Virtus.pro think is going to give them the edge compositionally as we head into this map. Of course, being the one to choose Gibraltar means that your opponent is likely to choose defense. We'll see AlQadsiah do have Riyadh here on the Hazard. And Labda opting for, in the absence of Freya, something a little shorter range in the Cassidy.
Yeah, probably just going to, like, as they come in, trying to dive, play the cast up here on the high ground. And it will be the Hazard here for Riyadh. That was kind of like one of the big things. What would he decide to play here on D? No real supply. Surprised with Checkmate still piling the Sim as it's available. VP, probably not the comp we're going to see from them.
No, this is the standard hook out of spawn from Roadhog, then switch to a different tank play. Been a long time since players brazenly stood out on the bridge for that very reason. We'll have a look, we'll have a hook, and then we'll head on back.
Yep, see where they decide to go. I imagine it's Hazard, right, if Icenom's in the game and D.Va is gone. So we'll get a good old Hazard head-to-head. It'll just be the difference in terms of the damage dealers, right? Cassidy Sim here versus Tracer Soj.
Here we see some of the issues. Labda is obviously taking some shots, connected them, but it's pretty minimal damage given the fall-off. He's trying to circumvent that by taking his bridge and moving a little bit closer, and all of a sudden, things start to look a little bit easier for the Cassidy. Fixer caught out there. Shockwave is in trouble, being chased down there by the Hazard. Ziad's going hunting. He may have overextended somewhat. He'll have to double back on this most likely. But that one pick is enough for now. Taking out the Lucio is massive.
Yeah, and it's a really nice angle from Labda going around there with Kellex being able to protect him. Now it looks like a little bit, though, VP wants to try and force some of that high ground.
Landon just had a Suzu himself there as a slash came in from Icenom, trying to chase down a Kiriko. Landon can TP away pretty safely, and this leaves Virtus.pro pretty far forward.
This is good, though, for VP, right? They've taken control of the top. They're going to have the payload be pushed underneath, and they've actually just kind of bullied AlQadsiah back to the server room.
Ziad can mantle on top of that building should he choose to do so, but he definitely needs Lambda and Co to soften up the attackers a little more.
Both teams playing for a rush here.
AlQadsiah don't have great sightlines. They don't really like what they see, and Ziad's starting to get pummeled a little bit. They've got to act quickly, and it's not quick enough. Kitsune rushes exchange over the cart here, and Labda's looking worse for wear. Icenom chases him down. Virtus.pro find that burst of impetus they were looking for and wash AlQadsiah away.
I mean, look, you play for high ground there for that exact reason. Love how VP decided to attack that instead of everybody just kind of slowly maybe going up and testing high ground a little bit, then dropping down, moving the payload. You actually have JWoo just move the payload underneath while you kind of push high, and it forces them back in the server room, and then it puts Ziad in a really tough position, kind of out in the open, not enough cooldowns to be able to survive.
Yeah, the fighting in this area gets interesting because of the jagged wall, but Labda gets ruined instantly. Cassidy lacks that momentum. Once your opponents are able to dive on you, you really have nowhere to go. And we're never going to win a face-up fight against that Hazard.
And it's a lot of high ground that AlQadsiah keeps giving up, right? A lot of teams would fight for that ship control over here at the top. They use that Sim TP, get in, get aggressive. They try and use like the Deadeye. And look at the amount of push it's going to allow VP to get.
They've gotten a lot of progress now, and Icenom can gum up the work, stand in the doorway, hence the TP's required. It's only Labda that went across so far. They're running out of time. AlQadsiah, they need to make the gambit here. Icedom tries to go for the downpour. It doesn't pay off. JWU realizes he's quite exposed out in the open, and Virtus.pro are trying to fall back here. They've lost Gala in doing so. JWU is in absolute no man's land here.
And it's a huge fight. I mean, that would have been like 4 minutes plus, like during 5 minutes, probably even over it, if you're able to get it right there, if you're VP. So you get a hold, and now you get high ground control, something that AlQadsiah lost early on. They have to be aware, though. JWU is still lurking behind.
This ends.
Overclock here. Ziad position pretty far forward. He's going to take some hits from this, but Shockwave might want to find a more juicy target, perhaps. Inside the shuttle they're playing. DP utilized, but Icedom follows them in. Catches checkmate before he can get away. Sound Barrier now committed to the fight for VP. Icedom couldn't benefit from it, but it's fine. Shockwave is caught. There's no escape, and now AlQadsiah might have a springboard to jump off here. Lambda from the high ground controls the space well. It's another pick on Fixer. Now that flexibility is starting to dissipate for VP. Where can Icedom go from here? He garnered enough attention to buy time for JWU and Gala to make short work of these AlQadsiah players, but Ziad's still standing. And if they can't topple him, they're not getting a checkpoint.
And it's quite rough that the sound barrier does not connect with Icedom, right? He's up top trying to contest in the ship. The sound barrier comes on through. Players from VP move on in, but Icedom's got no armor left on the hazard at that time, where no armor. He starts to just crumble rather quickly, and with no sound barrier, can't follow it up.
Same little engagement early as Ziad doesn't want to give this high ground position for free and allow VP onto the shuttle, but they have fought for that territory. Now AlQadsiah likely want to try and group up. TP is going to get checkmate out of trouble now. Adeno from the high ground. Lambda cancels it though. Set up for the reload. Dangerous position there for Fixer. Drops down in front of Lambda, who's unaffected by the downpour apparently. Checkmate though, not nearly so lucky. Now around the card, that's a stick, and that was dangerous. Ziad almost carried that into the rest of his team. Jagged Ball thrown up to try and give him some space, and Landon desperately trying to keep him standing, but JWU is looking for a reload, and his fight guard takes the Tracer out. But Shockwave found his enemy hit scan. Checkmate has to be careful, but he's got to commit. What a connection with those right clicks, and he'll finish the job. Again, AlQadsiah have to work for it.
And Landon is able to keep Ziad alive through all of that, which is just crazy to me, because Ziad is just jumping basically across the point a few times, extremely low health, just kind of working with Landon, and those two have been a formidable combo in EMEA. Now you got Rush and Downpour. JWU takes a lot of damage, going to force recall here early.
Ziad's playing further forward than normal, Matt. Was right up in that choke and bought some time. We're now down to 1 minute left for the attackers, and Ziad's sitting on a downpour. Knows again that top shuttle will be taken by Virtus.pro, and he's looking for the players that have been left behind or are straggling behind the main pack. Icedom drops down. Got to be a fight here on the low ground. A TP might get AlQadsiah around. They're going to have a wall in play. Shockwave hindered. Hit with the flashbang. Forced to back away. Reposition now. And Gala joins it, but they're not really in the fight properly. And Landon steps up. A little bit risky. A little bit optimistic from him. He will need to peel back a little bit. Icedom on the high ground trying to command the space. And Checkmate peers in over the top. And there's a sound barrier that's going to make it harder to crack through these VP players. AlQadsiah, though, had one of their own. Now both overshields have dissipated. JWU trying to move up the cart, but the numbers are here for AlQadsiah now. And Icedom might have caught himself in the corner. Shockwave slides forward. Cart still being contested. Lambda stuck in the corner now, trying to get out with his Deadeye. But Ziad has finally fallen. The biggest target to topple for Virtus.pro, but they're losing players left and right. Shockwave is low, tries to fold around. Now JWU sees Lambda looking low and tasty, but it's one out by the captain. Lambda, what are you doing? Icedom finally brings him down. With that one could have gone either way. You
had Ziad like right at the door on the ball. You know, just another second or two there from Lambda. I mean, that would have got real interesting. Probably a tank one-on-one as Ziad will go back there to the hazard as just a little bit later support ultimates there for Virtus.pro allows them to come out on top.
AlQadsiah have to be happy with that. 3-4 consecutive defensive holds in that second phase of the map. Now Virtus.pro low on time to reach for the goal. JWU's been caught under some man coverage there. Looks like Lambda trying to keep the Tracer on us as much as possible. Pulse bomb, dodge. Able to be sidestepped by Lambda. Sees a railgun coming though, wants to close the gap on Shockwave, who again keeps him at arm's length. Icedom will control the high ground. Forced to drop down, he's overextended. Oh, that hurts. Virtus.pro not able to get Gala in position to keep their spearhead in play. And that's it, fight over.
He gets like knocked down from the high ground. Obviously didn't intend to just kind of leap over and not land on the bridge. And then he's so far away, a jagged wall from Riyadh blocks any line of sight. Gala's not TPing in there, not giving up his life. Now it'll be VP with just one more shot at it.
We're going to have Kitsune rushes for both sides and a sound barrier at a very timely juncture for Kellex. Gala lets it go, knows he needs to be the one that blinks first and make the play. In the backline, Shockwave's looking a bit low and somehow Icedom has to challenge the high ground. Lapta doesn't know where his assailants go. Oh my goodness!
He knows.
Jaywu tries to challenge him out, headshot instantly, and the Deadeye is superfluous. Icedom simply vaporized in front of him. Oh, you got to be happy with a result like that if you're AlQadsiah, Matt.
It's insane to watch Lab play and remember, like, he was never like a hit scan player. Like, even, you know, obviously they had courts when they were a duo, so no reason to. But I mean, being able to play that Cassidy and VP, they're fortunate. I mean, their point A was really good at this moment, being able to take the first point, right? You know, fighting for that high ground, pushing them into server, getting control. AlQadsiah really fought back into the game here in this shuttle part. It didn't look good at the start, right? But then once they got control over that top ship area, they were great on D.
Ziad showing he's more than competent to handle this mirror. Looking very, very good on the hazard. And most importantly, it was really hard to kill in that second phase of the map. Credit to Landon and Kellex for keeping him standing.
Little Ash action here for Shockwave on defense. So be able to kind of control some of that high ground, right? The constant pressure with the dynamites on players like, you know, Ziad on the hazard who wants to dive on in. So does become a little bit easier of a target, right? But there's no like a tracer on the other side of things. You're not really worried about that.
Definitely feels like a more defensive option. As AlQadsiah played that low ground, highly susceptible to those dynamites. Bob is very disruptive if he can connect. But AlQadsiah now have a pretty clear line of sight to their goal on this map.
And it'll be Gala playing Ana here on defense as well. So gonna have the ability for those bios, kind of force Suzus maybe out of Landon. TP comes through, Coach Gun knocks everybody down.
Yeah, but also knocks Shockwave down. He's forced to give up the high ground, and Gala didn't quite get the memo. He's not able to fall back at the same tempo. And Shockwave eventually is picked up anyway by Ziad's second wave push.
Well, you see Icedom actually down there by the payload, and like, how is he able to get back up to the rest of the team, right? They just TP directly above him, and then he's left in a difficult spot, right? Like, he's like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to make it back to the rest of the team to help, like, kind of peel. So I have to stay in here, fight over the payload. And it's just like him and Kellex really there at the time, and Kellex able to put some damage down, dance long enough to just keep him occupied.
So far, the Ashes looked like a bit of a problem. Not exactly the solution. Once again, Shockwave's the first pick here. He's got to start to question whether that hero is the one that's going to give him the most equity. Because frankly, he's barely played the game on this defense side.
Yeah, he's going to go back to the Sojourn right away as Fix are going to have to use the TP just to stay live. Ziad coming right at him. An even faster point A take here from AlQadsiah. Icedome's going to drop here. He's got Fixa there working with him. This is so risky, though.
God, it's not where you want to be fighting a Cassidy. Just chaining those headshots together. It's beautiful work for Labda. But again, he gets exactly the fight he wants. Everyone's playing with his optimal range on the ground. And it's easy pickings.
So you will have the Nano here coming up. Oh, you actually lose Shockwave towards the end of this. You'd see it in the picture-in-picture down at the bottom. So Shockwave going to be out for a few seconds here once we get back into game. But you will have the Nano. Could be for, like, whether it be Icedome, damage reduction, or Jaywu. We've seen them use it on both the players at times. It'll be Icedome to get the benefits of it.
Gamble comes in, looks like shrugged off pretty easily, of course. It can be answered by a Suzu. Deadeye being held onto by Labda. It was a gamble.
I mean, it is impressive he even lived through that. I mean, he had the Deadeye. He had hit with a pulse bomb, sound barrier. He was holding it through all.
Virtus.pro, if they're going to stop here, Matt, they can chain them together, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a possibility. Jaywu trying to stay safe in these moments while waiting for the respawns of his teammates. I mean, VP get absolutely blown out in this second phase.
That is an ugly defense from VP in the shuttle phase, right? I mean, you still have Shockwave here behind. It looks like he's going to end up getting staggered. You had Fix a TP to him, try and get on top of the shuttle, so now you've lost both of them.
Whatever VP were trying to achieve by taking us to Gibraltar, it definitely hasn't played out the way that they drew it up. Now you're starting to get concerned. Sleep on Ziad. Unlikely control. Oh my goodness, he just got 2 kills while holding right support. That is unreal. The backline just served themselves up to him on a silver platter. Now AlQadsiah says, well, I better just tuck in. Here's the wall. Checkmate a little bit low, but things are going so well for AlQadsiah. And the dominoes are starting to fall for VP. Ice number's too low to be diving like that, but he has no other choice, no option. KLX at least trades. Shockwave down. Malga makes an appearance. And Ziad's trying to finish the round off here. Fixer has to throw himself at the card. There's just no other option. Shrugs off the pulse bomb. Shoulder charge. Thanks for coming. We'll see you in map 3.
They are rolling through VP right now. And if you're VP, you take us to Gibraltar, you get rid of D.Va, you force them onto a hazard, and that's the result. Hey, what's your next option? I mean, you got to take us to a map and ban the sim. That's the logical step here, but it just seems like AlQadsiah a step ahead at every turn.
Gibraltar can go 2 very different ways depending on how well defenders are able to regroup in that second phase of the map. They get that shuttle control. If they can stagger, get their respawns coming back in. We saw AlQadsiah are able to get 4 or so fights. It all came down to keeping Ziad in the game, and Ice Storm was far too easy to crack. Tough stuff here for Virtus.pro now. Last chance saloon here at our mid-season championship. They'll have the pick of map 3 right after this.
Reach your impossible, Lenovo Legion.
everybody, Danny Lim here, joined by Labda from AlQadsiah. Labda, you're going into your next match. How are you feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes, sure.
How ready?
I think it's going to be 3-0. Should be 3-0.
Oh, 3-0! Yeah, 3-0! Okay,
3-0.
Against VP, you're saying that's 3-0, so it's going to be an easy match.
Yeah, for me, I think so, yeah.
Easy match. You're going to pop off, Labda?
Yeah, sure, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell the camera, I'm going to pop off.
I'm going to pop off.
All right, Labda, best of luck. Thank you so much. Good luck, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'll make you happy. That'll make it get lost in this moment, long enough that we lose focus. Wanna feel your breath upon me.
It's an iconic EMEA matchup in a second quarterfinal of the day, and it's one that is playing out in a familiar fashion.
Yeah.
Virtus.pro, Matt, are digging their hands into the cliffside. Oblivion waits below them, and AlQadsiah are poised to stomp on their hands.
Yeah, it feels like we've seen this story before. VP, one more map at their disposal to be able to pick, and we know the crowd wants to win. I mean, we were talking. It looks like you're at like a soccer
football game, man.
Football. Yeah, football game.
We're in MEA now. Yeah, watching those flags fly, it's a little bit different. Big shout out to the crowd here in the STC Esports Arena, and they have absolutely gotten behind this AlQadsiah team. New Junk City.
You
This is
lose
the last
this.
chance for VP to choose a map in this series.
I mean, obviously you have no choice, but you lose this if you're VP. I mean, they're just better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you get a sim ban here on a rush style match. AlQadsiah, they get rid of the Ram, right? So Diva, Hazard, Orisa in play. Don't believe we saw a sub on the stage. See when we get into the lobby, but so that would lead you to believe that Ice Gnome's still in.
I think seeing, Ice Gnome's still in makes you wonder why. Because, I mean, again, like the ban, I think, of the Ramatra forces them to keep him in. Because that was what Vistola would come in and play that, or Orisa, which is reasonable on this map. They think, okay, well, we need to just commit ourselves to the Hazard game plan. That is not the case for Ziyad. He now is able to go back on that Ramatra, should he choose to do so. Or the Diva even, yes.
Yeah, I think the Diva, right, it opens it up. It was gone on Gibraltar. Now you can bring it in here. Orisa can bother Hazard at times as well, so we'll see. I know if Ziyad kind of falls back to potentially there, but it'll be the Diva here for Ziyad. Probably, his most standout hero here during stage 2.
And I think it's a little bit harder to ignore the Hazard as opposed to Ramatra, perhaps, in terms of your style. But AlQadsiah, like we said at the start of the game, they just stick checkmate on the Tracer. Quite happy with that. Which does mean that the Sojourns headline this matchup, and Kellex is spotted up to the left there, looking a little bit low, a little bit delectable. But Labda's able to trade back, and man, these rails are hitting the perfect targets. Both supports down for Virtus.pro. And in the longer fight, they will suffer greatly. Jaywoo's got nothing to do here, folks. He has confused Travolta.
Well, Checkmate and Labda are really low. They're searching for health packs here while Ziyad actually gets the cap, as Jaywoo was thinking about hunting some of those players down and actually making a play here for Checkmate, but wasn't able to track him down, wasn't able to find him, and able to get rid of him when he was dangerously low.
That's the plan, of course, for Checkmate. Now that AlQadsiah control the point, he will play coverage on Jaywoo whenever possible. Follow him across the map. Disrupt the shot eaten up there by Ziyad. Is able to avoid the slash damage from Ice Gnome as well. The very nimble AlQadsiah composition wants to keep the Hazard at arm's length whenever possible. Slash in dive on Labda. Looks like a Suzu had to be drawn out of Landon to keep them standing, and now it's about to Sojourn hits, and Labda delivers yet again. This guy is indomitable. Another three-piece. And Virtus.pro tried to focus him, Matt. They tried to dive him. They just couldn't get rid of him.
We saw that clip when he was talking with Danny outside. He said it is going to be an easy 3-0, and at least right now, looks like no lies detected from Labda into that interview. Man, they are, this will be a really dominant first point here for AlQadsiah. They probably just need one more fight.
Nice them again. The plan still has to be force this mobility out of Labda, go after the Sojourn, take him out of the fight. It hasn't worked well, but it's not exactly a plan B here, Matt. 99 in overtime we are. Labda here able to peer over the top of that jagged wall, which fell a little bit too low to cut him up that sight line, and he hasn't had to do it all this fight. He's been able to relax for one.
Yeah, the wall was supposed to hit, so the vertical portion blocks the line of sight for Labda and forces him down. But it actually just kind of hits the lower lip and then gets stuck and yoink down. So not able to block that sight line there. With that jagged wall, allows Labda to free fire from up above allows AlQadsiah to take our first flashpoint, and they have an easy rotation to the next.
Yeah, sound barriers for both sides in this engagement, so a little bit more of a fair fight.
Overclock for Shockwave, though, to rip a lot of that off.
Yeah, but AlQadsiah have this causeway control first. It really favors Labda, especially these disruptor shots going low. Ziad's going to duck out of the fight here briefly. Shockwave has his. Yeah, oh, landed. Probably doesn't expect Shockwave to drop down nearly as quickly.
Do you beat here? Oh, they do.
Okay, they're going to go for it. What can Ziad do in the meantime? There's a beat coming out from VP in response, so this feels a little bit awkward for AlQadsiah now. Checkmate wraps around, gets a bit of damage down on Gala, but needs to finish the job adequately. He's going to switch step away. Shockwave, comfortable spot. Ziad was able to remech throughout this fight, but AlQadsiah are spread pretty thin right now.
They've got Landon back as well, right? So they're back at full stream.
Jabu wins a Tracer battle. AlQadsiah, again, no reason not to try and take the point here first. Stall it out if they feel like they're going to lose the fight, get some free percentage. Ziad at least is threatening that, but they might have to back out now.
Yeah, and I mean, Jayu, that's going to be 2 kills for him. That's going to get a DMAC here on Ziad as well. They should give a fight.
Oh, Landon! Oh,
wait, hold on. He's still up.
Checkmate from long range is able to finish the job. That's just how low Shockwave went. Landon takes an audacious challenge and is able to win it out for AlQadsiah.
There's no way Landon rushes here, right? I know. I mean, yeah, he's so far behind now. Ziad not able to get back in mech. I was like, Ziad's able to get back in mech. Maybe you consider trying to fight it, challenge it, but wild plays from the Kiri on AlQadsiah. But it'll be VP getting control of this point first.
AlQadsiah need to chill now. They realize the opening that Landon created and weren't really able to capitalize off of it adequately as Fixer found 2 kills. So again, back to coverage. Checkmate looking for Jawu constantly. Shots coming in, likely Kunai one's off from the side, forces Checkmate to reposition now. But he sees the backline. Sees Fixer floating as a pulse opportunity here. He wants to make sure it's certain. He waited for the slide to come out. Now recalls away though. Got a little bit low for his liking. Look how much damage. Pro is sustaining. Pulse didn't connect. That could have gone either way, Matt, but Checkmate, well, he's nimble enough to step away from the blast radius, and AlQad have the point.
It looked like he was about to blink right into it there. Had to sidestep it for a second as he tries to just like flick and throw it on Ice Dome as he like travels over his head. But you see the pressure there from that off angle, taking like a little bit of a route over to the high ground and then putting pressure on the Shockwave, Gala, and Fixa, doubling back towards the point there for Checkmate. Opens up so much space for the rest of the team to go in, take the point and high ground.
So Ziad has a second mech opportunity now with that ultimate developed. Lapta overclocked. He's going to shut the door in Virtus.pro's face, and losing Ice-Dom there is it's not allowed. There's no way to have any fighting force in this fight. Okay, self-destruct here for Ziad. Okay, a little bit a little bit messy. The fact that he gets Shockwave off the backside, though, is just some extra value. And AlQadsiah now can really stretch this fight. Virtus.pro are going to start to get desperate here, Matt. They're running out of time.
Well, you do end up, so Ziad will be coming off a spawn. You do have sound barrier here to be able to fight this, though. It'll be Ice-Dom using the sound core. I don't think it connects with anybody.
No, sound barrier now comes out, and Ice-Dom realizes he's a little bit too far forward for his liking, but it's a beat from Fixer. It comes later. This pulse, another missed one. Shockwave didn't have his slide forced out earlier on, but he was very low after that exchange. Good healing, but Ziad chases him down. He's going to have to give up his mech, though, in order to get that sojourn. And now AlQadsiah can't afford to give the point up. This is going to be messy, but they don't have the numbers to maintain control here. Landon's low. Kitsune Rush will have to wait for the next flashpoint.
MVP gets fortunate there because we are on board with Checkmate, and he's kind of hunting down Shockwave. It's been a matchup that we've been watching throughout this one, and Shockwave actually doesn't get any benefits of that sound barrier. We got another fast fight here on the rotation, though. You have Ice-Dom stuck here as well.
They caught them midway. Ice-Dom, of course, with that burst damage out of nowhere, is able to find Checkmate, but he knew he'd be trading at best there. So another 10 seconds before that next flashpoint is active. Off to the refinery we go.
So it'll be high ground control here early for AlQadsiah. So we're going to have another, they've actually kind of lined up these rushes, both Landon and Gala, to be able to match each other every single time.
Yeah, and they echo. Those voice lines come out at the same time. But Ice-Dom struggles, able to jump back. Gala desperately trying to keep him standing, even as Suzu committed. Checkmate realizes he's not going to get that kill. Elsewhere, Jawu more successful on his Tracer dive. Picks Lambda out of the mix, and now VP have a chance to get in. Ziad hoping just to try and, I don't know, project some threat here. Virtus.pro knew full well they're at a distinct advantage now A remake there for Ziad. Going to be pretty low. It's going to be a downpour thrown in, and it did catch Landon. He's got nowhere to go here. Oh, the defense matrix is perfect from Ziad. Keeps Landon in the game. That is ridiculous. And still he's got his mech. Landon trying to pay it forward, but now Ziad will be knocked out of the suit. Labda low on the high ground. Sound barrier comes in late. Ziad is still bunny blastering away. So AlQadsiah don't exactly have that same level of kill pressure now.
Yeah, but they have control of the point. They have control of the point. They're going to get up to like about 60% here. Then they lose Riyadh here with a headshot from Gala. Kellex ends up using the beat. The beat's going to get them about another 20% or so.
Yeah, and they're happy enough with this because those beats came pretty much in sequence. Gala will be ahead on the Kitsune Rush metric, but that is a healthy lead for Refinery as far as AlQadsiah are concerned.
Yeah, and I think if you're AlQadsiah, right, 72%, you probably need a fight to flip it, and then there's going to be one more fight after that. If you can like withstand Gala using this Kitsune Rush, you know, you might end up in a situation where this point is tied, but you come back with a huge advantage in terms of ultimates in a fight that ultimately is going to decide it.
The smug face is what does it for me. That is ridiculous. Shockwave here is playing pretty safe. He knows Labda's going to be hunting for him right now, but he's going to overclock, and Kellex flattened. Fix the tunes in at just the right moment here, and Shockwave on the same wavelength. That's a Lucio gone. This will get Virtus.pro now back to even. And a belated swift step away gets Landon out of trouble, but Shockwave is going to continue to ask the question. Will you offer me a free kill?
Now it'll be VP taking the lead like I talked about. The bad part here for AlQadsiah is they don't actually force that rush. They're going to be the first team to use it.
A double back here from Checkmate. He did take a hit initially, but now he's in. Disrupt the shot at the back of the point, trying to dance with Fixer. Ziad and Checkmate locked in to take that Lucio down. That was a clean fight for AlQadsiah.
So they will get the flip. It had to be both rushes used there, pulse bombs from both sides. So we'll see. AlQadsiah look like they pushed up there. JWoo, I believe, is still behind them, so JWoo should be able to get a touch.
Oh no, we just saw him TP across there. He's with the main body of the team. Recalls, but did at least get overtime active. Beats coming up here for Kellex and Fixer in this fight. Those are the key ultimates to look out for. Outside of that, it's good old-fashioned, honest Overwatch. Checkmate has the Mega. JWoo can't take it, but he has a healer by his side. Ziad getting close to a remake opportunity, and Kellex is low, but knows been able to find him. He has a beat. He's built it before Fixer. Ice Storm goes low. Forced to drop to the low ground now. Spike guard deployed briefly, but Shockwave is felled first. Labda strikes at the heart of Virtus.pro, and now it's all his for the taking. Gala and Ice Storm topple, and AlQadsiah get their second flashpoint.
One flashpoint away from setting themselves up in the semis. A chance to go to a final here in Riyadh. Battle against Twisted Minds. That would be pretty wild up there in that crowd. Opening things up for AlQadsiah. Ziad will have this self-destruct. We see him play really aggressive when he has this, right? He knows he's going to most likely get a second life. So we'll see how deep he decides to go. Trying to make a play for Fixer or Shockwave. Those have been his targets.
He knows, though, he needs to be able to remech in a relatively safe spot. So he'll have to start doubling back as soon as he realizes he's going to be knocked out. Big ultimate here. Sound barrier comes in. Fixer's able to deploy it. Labda backs up. This is an unanswered beat. AlQadsiah are going to have to wait it out, but there's that self-destruct from Ziad. Back in mech should be fine, and Fixer's down to the pulse. JWoo's got nothing to do. Caught on the outside, looking in, goes for a recall, but it's going to be a swift step away by Landon, and AlQadsiah start with point control, poised to take the series.
Yeah, and the sound barrier comes through from VP, and AlQadsiah back up, but Ziad is so far forward, and he's able to just kind of contest the point, use his self-destruct to not allow VP to take the point. It's also the overclock that rips a lot of that overshield, the overhealth away from players on VP.
Shockwave with an overclock. This is pretty preemptive. A lot of AlQadsiah now just scrabbling to get back. Keeping Ziad in mech is paramount, and he's going to be knocked out. Virtus.pro see an opportunity now just to knock it into body blaster form, and Ziad has nothing to say. The rest of AlQadsiah realize they're in a power trough as it is. Forcing ultimates would be better. We'll have to just accept turning around to fight another day.
And look, the supports on AlQadsiah are amazing, but when Ziad is that low, there's an overclock, everybody flying around the corner. No amount of Kiri Pocket is going to be able to keep Ziad up through that. So a rare instance, it seems like AlQadsiah gets caught off guard there.
Ziad's again in the mix and ready to go once more. Pressuring the backline. Jwoo traded for Kellex here. No Tracer up for Virtus.pro. Ice Numb a little bit low. He's going to need some help, but Gala's going to struggle through to Kitsune rush down, but he goes low. It's Gala out of the picture. AlQadsiah are back, and they mean business. And it just so happens that business today is pretty good. They'll have to flip. Now the goal in their sights.
It's wild while we're watching Ziad at the beginning of these fights, right? It looks like he just literally flies at them and then just like, all right, let's just start fighting. And able to just kind of use that flight to get back towards his teammates. Has great use of the defense matrix here. You lose Shockwave towards the end. And dude, I mean, you have a huge support advantage here for AlQadsiah and a fantastic spot to close out this series.
95 and counting. It is last chance saloon for Virtus.pro.
Oh, he got him on the cross!
The Great White North descends on the desert sands and is repelled by the fiery spirit of AlQadsiah, advancing to the semifinals.
We swap to that free cam of the point to see if anybody gets a touch from Labda's POV, but Labda with the overclock, actually with a headshot onto the Tracer, crossing over towards that side of the map, not able to get there to get a touch. And this team as dominant as usual in EMEA. I think you can see the gap they put between themselves and VP.
It's about as clean as called a shot as you could ask for. AlQadsiah knew they had the measure of Virtus.pro coming into this game. They had to have been pleased to have an opponent they felt like they had the better of coming into this game. And now they've secured a fateful matchup, a rematch for the history books in that semi-final. Twisted Minds and AlQadsiah.
And we're gonna have an EMEA team in the finals. I mean, you think about just kind of the progression of OWCS over the last few years, right? No, last year's EWC, obviously, I know Freaks Raccoon Falcon, a lot like we have, a lot of different times, right? They make long runs in those events. Nightmare made a long run when we were at the Champions Clash, and now you get EMEA will be represented in a finals here.